Hey guys, today we'll be talking about the public test server for patch 7.0, the heavy class, his new prestige perks, and his overall balance in the game currently. Some people have asked me to make this video. I figured why not. I'll try to be as concise as possible because this video is unscripted, but the first thing I want to start with here are just the prestige perks. And on a first glance, these perks aren't as bad as people think they are, though there is an odd theme here, which is like a lot of them are based around melee damage. I don't really know who is balancing the heavy class here because it seems like they're missing the class identity, which is that you're using the class because you want to shoot a giant fucking gun, and I think that's a pretty fair thing to want to do in the game because that's kind of the whole lore part of a heavy. And here we have not one, not two, not three, but four class perks that are based around melee damage. Because charge attacks, when we go through them here, number one, overcharge, charge attack damage increases by 25%. This is not accounting for your range attack damage, things like your heavy plasma. This is only melee. This is a pretty bad perk, and this was already a perk here in the perk tree before they changed it over to melee damage, and they've brought it back for the prestige perk, and it's still bad. So I don't really know why they did this. I took this with all the melee perks, every single one, including this one, and I did some charge attack damage. You do kind of chunk some enemies, but it's just such an awkward thing to use. And you also already have an infinite heavy combo on the heavy, so this is just not that good. Though I guess if you're taking all of these perks, you can try it out with perseverance. Like, you know, you'll kill some things. It's functional. It's just not great. Now, number two would be auxiliary reload. Auxiliary reload, melee kills of extremis level or higher enemies. Restore your secondary weapons ammo by 1 magazine. I wish this just read Majoris, because the only thing holding heavy back really as a class is ammunition and your balance parry window. So Majoris enemy kills giving you back a magazine. That would be nice, but you know, extremis isn't bad, and for a lot of weapons this could be pretty damn good now when you have the heavy bolt pistol, you know. Like ammunition's ammunition, plasma. Like not running out is not running out, so it's not bad. It's a good perk. This is probably one you're pretty much always going to take. Now, number three is Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 10 seconds. This is a goated perk. This perk effect is so underrated. When you break your armor and you're pretty much at your most vulnerable, like you're taking less damage when you're at your weakest, and that's great. And for a class like this, where you have Strategic Stand, which is while in heavy stance, dealing damage restores 15% more contested health. You do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back, but you will not be able to move. First of all, this is one of the best perks in the entire game for heavy. It is so good that these other two almost don't exist sometimes. You can use this for heavy plasma, but this one's definitely better. You take that with this, and a missile terminator is in your face, you will never die. And you were already never going to die with this perk, but now you're definitely never going to die because you're just taking less damage. Amazing perk, always take this. These two, if you're playing for your gun stuff, there aren't a lot of choices here that are good, to be honest. So you're pretty much always going to be taking these two. And then you're probably going to take Exponential Force because melee damage increases by 100%. I mean, this isn't a bad perk, it's just a boring perk. Like 100% extra melee damage is 100% extra melee damage, and that just means, like, the main benefit of that perk is, okay, I ran out of all my ammo, and I'm going to use auxiliary ammunition when your primary weapon is out of ammo. Killing 10 enemies in rapid succession restores ammo reserve by 20%. Cooldown is 30%. I don't think this perk is very good at all, first of all, but I guess that is where you would use this because now you can actually get that damage off to kill these guys without a grenade, because usually if your primary weapon is out of ammo, you're not killing 10 enemies in a rapid succession. So this has always been like an odd perk to me, but you could use it with your equipment at times. It's just kind of a silly perk. I don't think this one's very good. I think this one needs to be like have either like a buff, change the cooldown, or like make it so if your primary weapon is at like, I don't know, 5% ammunition, because you really don't want to run out of your primary weapon. Probably like more like 20% ammunition, to be honest. Like restore it by 10% with a cooldown of like, I don't know, 180 seconds. That sounds a lot more reasonable to me, because topping off on your like running out of ammo on your primary weapon as a heavy pretty much means you're fucked, and I don't really know why you would ever want to do this. So this perk is just kind of goofy, especially to give it like a cooldown of 30 seconds. It's not worthless, you know, you can use it with this, like I said. It's just not something I would take over these two, especially when you have things like multi-kill, which is killing 5 or more enemies with one shot from a multi-melter restores ammo by 1. I don't know why we're so conservative here with like, oh, we can't give the player ammo when there's so many other perks to do it anyways. Now, onto here, we have the number 5 is Best Defense. While performing melee attacks, you take 25% less health damage. I mean, this is good. This is good if you're going for a melee build. I don't know why you'd be going for a melee build, but if you really want to stomp bugs, or like for whatever reason you want to stomp chaos, but you can go try that your one yourself. I'm not doing that. You can use this. Like, you know, less health damage is always good. Restorative capacity, activating Iron Halo removes negative status effects. I don't know who keeps coming up with these perks. These remove negative status effects perks are like so bad. This perk is only good. Like the negative status effect perks are only good if you are like having them attached to another perk, like right here. Manually activating Camo Cloak removes negative status effects and restores all contested health. It's like, yeah, it's a little bonus to your incredible ability of restoring all your contested health. I just don't think negative status effect works all that much, or I should say I don't think it matters all that much, because how often does this actually happen in game? And when it does happen in game, how often does it actually kill you? Barely ever. I honestly think that your revive perks are better than this, especially this one. This one's actually pretty good. So next one we have here would be Perseverance. While performing charge attacks, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. I mean, this one functions with this. I don't think you would ever take this one without taking this one, because like you're pretty much already choosing to like limit yourself. So really, if we look at this perk tree, the only options here, the only combinations of the four are pretty much going to be Auxiliary Reload, Conviction, Exponential Force with Best Defense. Because like you're going to take this, maybe you'll be like, oh, I really hate negative status effects, so I won't take Best Defense, because you're always taking Exponential Force. Because let's be real, 90% of players that read a perk tree are going to be like, more damage, let me click that. So you're going to take that 9 times out of 10. Like I would say this is probably taken by basically everybody. But maybe somebody will take Best Defense or Restorative Capacity instead. One of these two will like be swapped out. And then maybe like the one lunatic will be like, I'm going all melee. Guys, like, hold my beer. I'm going in. I'm going to take Overcharge. I'm going to take Perseverance. I'm going to take Exponential Force. I'm going to take Best Defense. And I'm going to take Enhanced Force with Fortitude. And I'm going to be like the heaviest heavy to ever heavy. And my armor will like just girth all over them. So that is an option. I just don't know who is designing the heavy class here for the prestige perks, because nobody was asking for more melee damage on the heavy. In fact, most true solo runs and solo runs with the heavy are done with like basically no melee damage. So it's just a little goofy. And I mean, it's good. The class is objectively better with perks like this, because guess what? You know, more perks is always better than no perks, even if the perks are beyond mid. So like it functions. It works. I just don't really see the point in having the melee damage increases as like a giant theme here. I feel like a couple of these should be swapped out. You know, I don't have like super strong feelings on the melee damage for the prestige perks. They're just kind of boring, you know, especially when we look at other perk trees. Like when we take a look at the Bulwark's perks here, the Bulwark has amazing synergy with his prestige perks. We'll be talking more about this class eventually, because this class is on crack right now. But like these are some really good perks. He even has some of the ones that Heavy has, and these work even better on him. It's just a really weird thing to have about like 4 of the prestige perks on the Heavy be melee focused, because you know, ones like Exponential Force are good. Like these are just blatantly good perks, but it's just a boring perk. And I only know why we have 4 out of the 7 being melee focused in a class that wants to shoot a gun. But, you know, that's just my opinion. Maybe you want to stomp on bugs, and that's fine. But the big thing here for me is just I feel like we're missing some of the point of the class. And when we look at something like Auxiliary Ammunition, when your primary weapon is out of ammo, you're kind of fucked anyways, which is why this perk is so good, because you're probably going to get slapped the most when you have no ammunition to shoot the enemy. Like, that's kind of the whole shtick with this class. And the funniest part is a lot of people will be taking things like Fortitude with the melee perks for like a big melee build here. And Fortitude is, you know, it's not a bad perk. It's just you aren't going to be able to use Strategic Stand with like the heavy bolt rifle. And the heavy bolt rifle is like the best possible weapon to use with Fortitude, in my opinion, because you don't really have to use all the heavy stance bonuses, because this doesn't really benefit from them. But strangely enough, on the perk tree, there's like no melee damage increase on this perk tree, but then you look at something like the heavy bolter, and it's like, oh, you just get like a flat 50%. So you really want to be using the melee damage perks with like a heavy bolter or like a multi-melta maybe. Actually, I don't think this one has a melee damage perk, but the point is, you want to be using it with something like these, with like the melee damage increases. And it's just funny to me that the heavy bolt rifles, what you would be using with Fortitude to go in at melee range, and otherwise you're just going to be shooting your gun, which is pretty silly to me. And we have to bear in mind that these are prestige perks, okay? These are for the most dedicated players. You have to level up your class again, and people, not everyone has time for that. So the perks should feel pretty rewarding, or at least like they're a real choice, and not just like, oh, I have some negligible stat increases. They're just kind of neat, I guess, for like a really niche build. As for my final thoughts on these perks, I don't think having melee damage be the focus for some of these is that bad of an idea because, it does work with the class. It's just having 4 out of these 7 be taken up by a melee focus is a little strange to me. This class will still be good, like Heavy is still a very strong class, it's just his prestige perks are a little boring. I'm sure a lot of you agree. Let me know if you don't in the comments below, and if you like content like this, subscribe for more, and as always, thanks for watching, have a good one, bye.